Hello, Powerhouse Life Group. This is Pastor Watkins. I'm coming to you today from Jordan Ranch, and actually I'm in the Ed Cole Library, a library that has been dedicated to the memory of our mentor, Dr. Edwin Lewis Cole. Dr. Cole wrote your curriculum, and you can see his picture on the back as well. Today's lesson is out of Never Quit, or the long version of that title is Winners Are Not Those Who Never Fail, but Those Who Never Quit. So the idea in our life group is to take you through 10 straight weeks of learning how God always came through for people who followed him, and how they never quit on him because he never quit on them. It is a life lesson that if you can get it in your spirit now and never allow it to leave you, draw upon these strengths when you inevitably will be tested in life, all of us will, then you can come out victorious, and God will get the glory out of your victory. So this church, Powerhouse, is dedicated to teaching you how to survive in the valley and enjoy the mountaintops. So today we're going to be on, your curriculum is entitled Lesson 2, but it actually comes out of the book on Chapter 3. So I want to touch base for just a few minutes with you and get you started. I'm going to hand you off to your life group leader, and they're going to take you through the curriculum, which you should have already had filled out. Now, if for some reason you don't have this curriculum, get it at the bookstore in Powerhouse, fill it out, catch up, and always be one chapter ahead, so that when it comes time to communicating and having conversation around the topic, you're already well aware of the chapter, and you don't need to go back and read it, because this is going to benefit you a lot better if you are studied up. The Bible actually says to study to show yourself approved. I think just by being around this group of people, truly what the proverb says is that iron is going to sharpen iron. You're going to be sharper when you leave than when you came. So let's begin quickly, and I'm just going to go over a few thoughts from this chapter about what God says to Elijah as he's running away from Ahab and Jezebel. Before he ran away from Ahab and Jezebel, you remember there was a great testing between Elijah, a man of God, and the prophets of Baal, 200 plus of them, but it was around 250 that were called out. Both of them were called to build an altar and call down fire. And so the prophets of Baal, which served Ahab, called down fire, and nothing happened. Elijah actually dug a trench around his altar, and he called down fire. And whenever he called down that fire, the fire burned up the offering, which is a bull. It burned up the rocks, which is what the altar was made out of, and it burned up the water in the trough. And so at that moment, all the accolades went to Elijah and his God, and all the people cheered for him, and obviously everybody else was embarrassed because there is no God of Baal. And that was what God used to prove that. Well, immediately after that, if you read through your book, you'll find out that Elijah was tired, and that he was relaxing at that moment. And then Jezebel put out a death warrant on his head. So he ran 60 miles, and when he got finished running, he found a juniper tree, crawled up under the juniper tree, and asked God to kill him. And Dr. Cole takes this moment to begin to talk about our biggest challenge, how it's not before the battle or in the battle, but our biggest challenge many times is after we've won the battle, when we let down our defenses, when we are exhausted from battle, and then we begin to listen to voices in our tired state of mind that are not good for us, especially when it comes to making critical life decisions. And so most of the time when you see a leader make a bad decision, it's when he is in a tired place. So based upon that, that's the short version of chapter 3 in the book, lesson 2. I want to take you to page, let's see what this is on, page 46. And he says this, he says, God is faithful. He's faithful to his word, to his character, and he's faithful to us. Even though God's enemies are not faithful to us, we don't give up because people are mean or trying to take our life. That is not God. That is God's enemies. And you have to differentiate the two. And Jesus told us that in this world we will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, for I've overcome the world. So the point being, if Christ is living in me, I'm an overcomer. If Christ lives in you, if you're born again, you're a new creation, the Holy Spirit lives in you, you're baptized in the Holy Spirit, you've been empowered to overcome every situation that the enemy of God may throw at you. Now look at what happened to God. Look what he did with Elisha when he was in this place where he asked God to take his life. It says, God rested him, God fed him, and God gave him quietness. Three things. He rested, he fed him, and he gave him great quietness. Rest, diet, and quiet. And he says, Dr. Cole says, in days of intensity and crisis, when life becomes too subjective, perspective too muddled, thinking too incoherent, and the need to know and understand too difficult, God will provide a way of escape. It's an escape from ourselves, but to God. A peaceful atmosphere creates a meditative spirit. Many people that are listening today to this video have a real challenge with their busyness. Everything from our cell phones, our computers, DirecTV, Netflix, iTunes, you name it, we are always able to be engaged in something. And we've almost forgotten the art of reading. We've almost forgotten the art of being quiet and meditating. That's why we created Jordan Ranch, is to bring us back to a place like Elijah where we could hear the voice of God. Many times it's not that God's not speaking, it's just our inability to hear that stops us from the direction of God. So today, as you finish your lesson and you talk about your lesson, I want to encourage you to think and ponder on these things of how busy is my life? Is it too busy for God? Can I recreate those quiet times? Because I believe that's where you'll find God and you'll hear from God in that moment. Enjoy the rest of your life group today. Try to take something away that makes you better. See you on Sunday.